I'm Tim Williams. I'm the superintendent of Logan Elm Local Schools. I'd like to thank everyone for coming to tonight's meeting to hear various perspectives on our upcoming levy. The purpose is for you to hear from various experts in the fields and make a decision as you move forward on whether you can support us this coming May. About 2 months ago, Mrs. Wiley brought me a news article that was written in 1980 by the current superintendent of Logan Elm Schools in 1980. And in his newsletter, he talked a lot about how he was worried about the facilities in our school district because they were starting to decline. That was over 30 years ago. The Board of Education in 2003 decided at that point in time that it was time to ask the public to support new schools. The graduating class from 2003 will be graduating very soon, and we are still in the same facilities they were worried about in 2003. So tonight, please consider voting for our children as you listen to the speakers. Tonight, we have several individuals here. We have Sheriff Radcliffe and Jim Bingham, who will talk about safety in the new schools. We have Randy Pettit from Elford Construction Managers, who will talk about the rising cost of materials and how it's becoming more expensive to build. Melissa Betts, the county auditor, will talk about what you can use bond money for. We will have a student perspective. Debbie Shaw will talk about the board's perspective and why it is time to ask again for new schools. And finally, Rod Smith will talk a little bit about and also show some pictures from the deteriorating buildings that we have in the district. So to start, I didn't tell them their orders, so they might be surprised, but if Sheriff Radcliffe would like to take a few minutes to talk about what he sees as he goes out into the new facilities, what new facilities would mean to our school district, and how it would be safer to keep our children safe. Thank you.
Been a little bit tied up the last couple of days, so I haven't had a lot of time to think about what we're going to talk about, but one of the priorities that our office has taken since I took office, and Mr. Williams is aware of this, is we met with all the superintendents at schools, and we wanted to go out and evaluate our schools in Pickaway County to determine how safe our buildings were for the youth and for the faculty that work in those buildings. And you know, I'm not here to advocate that you should put more taxes on or not, or you know, if the school's closer to where you live at or not. I'm here to advocate the safety of the children and what we see in some of the other districts and how much easier it is for us to protect, in today's world, protect the youth in our buildings. And you know, obviously it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out that the newer buildings, just like our new facility 92 versus our 100-year-old building, was a lot easier to manage and a lot easier to secure. As we look at some of the buildings in this district, you know, we're looking at buildings that are 100+ years old. They were never built for what we deal with today. Never built to be secure in the ways that we have to secure buildings and to protect our children. And you know, we're very fortunate. You know, we have a couple different perspectives. As you look at Westfall, you've got an A-campus situation where everything is on one campus. We're very fortunate there to have the support of the school district, and we have a school resource officer that works in all 3 buildings. And I was hoping he would be here tonight because he could give you a little bit as far as what he deals with and how he deals with things on that campus. They're in a lot better situation. Their buildings are a lot newer. As you look at Taze Valley, they're spread out as you are, but they're in a different situation because all their buildings are new, and they were able to secure them a lot easier because of the age of the buildings. And then you look at Circleville, again, a one-campus situation. We recently turned over the part of that campus that was in the county under our jurisdiction. We would turn that over to the city of Circleville so that there was no confusion on whose responsibility, who would be the first one to be called if there was an issue there. You know, we're continually doing everything we can do to make sure that we give the best advice we can to the school administrations to make sure that in the facilities that they're currently in, that we can secure them the best we can. But again, we're looking at buildings that were never meant to be what they are. And I know Melissa can speak as the courthouse, when we had to lock down the courthouse and the changes we had to make to secure that building. And you know, it's as secure as possible, but when you're dealing with a 100-year-old facility, again, it's just not. They weren't built for what we deal with and the threats that we have today. And that's what I'm here for. It's the threat and the safety of the kids. It's not about the education part. You know, I have my own personal feelings and beliefs as far as that goes. I can tell you, as a Circleville resident, knowing that my last child would be out of school before the buildings were built, I voted for the levy. I live in Circleville, and I pay the taxes because I believed it was the right thing. That's my personal beliefs, but what I'm here for, again, is the safety, and we want to make sure that the kids are safe. And you know, however, be it a campus-style facility or new buildings in their current locations, whatever the district is looking at is definitely better than what they're currently working in now, and the fact that you know, the conditions for the students in this district compared to some of the other districts, and the faculty that have to work in the buildings. I think that's the things we have to look at. Is there anybody that has questions specifically for me? Because I'll be glad to answer anything that you have.
I would add that we have met numerous times with the Sheriff's Department and looked at safety. We have added cameras and door locks to all of our elementary doors. The problem we run into is at this facility, as well as other facilities in our district, is students are outside a lot. They're not in one building. They're traveling from classrooms to trailers to other buildings. And so when they're outside, those students are not locked down in one area or not inside. So that becomes an issue and a concern for us. Our next presenter this evening will be Randy Pettit. Randy, as I mentioned earlier, works for Elford, which is a construction management firm. As you know, when you raise money for a bond issue and you begin to build, the process becomes very cumbersome and you have X amount of money. And the longer we wait, the cost goes up. So it's important for us to hear from experts like Randy, who also lives in our school district, to explain the cost and the rising cost of construction currently.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank you for coming out. What I was asked to speak about just a little bit is some of the rising costs and some of the dynamics that are going on in the construction community today. As everyone knows, we're coming off of 5 years of really tough times in 2008. The construction industry really took a tank, as most industries did. Things went stagnant for a while. What we've seen in the industry in the past 8 months is approximately a 10 to 12% across the board market righting, if you will, or an adjustment. What we're seeing trending right now, and I checked today before I came down with our estimating department, and we are seeing the trend, and all indications are that for the foreseeable future, construction costs across the board will continue to climb at about 1.5% a quarter, or 6% a year. And that would be in material adjustments as well as labor adjustments. Everything going on with Obamacare and how that's going to push into construction companies and the insurance and everything like that. So a lot of dynamics going on there. One thing is, as we've been attending the board meetings and listening and having some dialogue with different folks, the OFCC, where approximately 30% of the funding is coming from, is state allocations that as taxpayers we've already paid into. When the program started many years ago, the percentages were higher for various districts, etc. And some of those districts received 60, 70, sometimes 80% of their funding came from the OFCC. As the funds have dwindled and as the 15-year program kind of draws closer to an end, those funds or those percentages are considerably less. I believe that Logan Elm right now is in the 30% plus or minus a couple of points bracket. That will continue to go down. So one point of interest is if we as taxpayers, as parents of kids who have graduated, who are graduating, or for the younger, as future parents who would hope to have kids to graduate from Logan Elm, if we wait much longer, then those funds are going to be smaller, and the burden of new schools, repairing old schools, whatever we would decide to do, will become less. So those funds will become diminished, and that whole burden will fall upon us as the taxpayers. Does anyone have any questions? I can certainly ramble for a long, long time about construction and how cool it is. It's my life. I've been at it for 30 plus years. We currently, as a company, have around $200 million worth of work under construction, and a lot of that is at university, at K-12 establishments, in schools around. We've done work at Kenton. We're involved in a joint ventureship doing a lot of school work in Columbus. So we have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge to share, and we'd certainly like to do that. The other point I would mention in closing, as the parameters change on the OFCC guidelines, they're building against a 2007 building code right now, and part of the OFCC talks about LEED and energy management and sustainability and your footprint. And the guidelines in which construction takes place today is against that 207. So to hit a LEED silver or a LEED gold, there are points that are easily obtainable with today's construction techniques when you use a 207 building guideline. Those changes are coming, and they're going to update to a 210 or a 212, a 20 and 12 building code. So those LEED points are going to become a lot harder to get, which just means they're going to cost more money. In a rural application like we have here at Logan Elm, we don't get points for close to a bus stop, close to a store, close to multi-family housing, things of that nature. So the longer we wait, the longer it goes, those will become very real and have real dollars associated with them. Any questions? How do you like that? I explained it all. Thank you.
And if anyone has any questions at the end, you can ask them individually if you would like. Randy hit on a couple good points that I will echo. In 2007, we were receiving, or excuse me, 2009, 37% from the state. In May, we received 35% from the state, so we lost 2%. They have already contacted me. When I say they, I mean OFCC, and if we go again after May, it drops to either 33 or 32%. So that means state funding. So every time that drops, it costs more locally to go for the levy. So over about 4 years, 5 years, we've lost 4 to 7%. It will continue to go down. So thanks, Randy. Next, we have Melissa Betts talking about bonds and bond issues.
Good evening. Thank you for the chance to come today and to speak to you for a few minutes. Just a couple questions that I wanted to bring up, questions that we sometimes hear within our office, is just exactly what is a bond issue or a bond levy. And a bond issue, bond levy, is something that is actually paid through your real estate taxes. And the amount of that bond levy or issue has a specified term and a specified amount. And based on what the current valuation is of the Logan Elm School District right now, we have set that bond rate at 6.1 mils. That millage will be reviewed every year with those school districts that there are currently bonds that exist. I give the treasurer of those districts a phone call every year as part of our budget commission process. We talk about it. What do you have as far as your debt? Has anything changed? Has there been any refinancing or anything like that that would cause us to need to change what the millage is going to be? The proceeds from the bond can only be used to retire the bonds or knows whatever is issued by the Board of Education for the building construction or renovation or whatever it may end up being. It absolutely cannot be used for administrative costs. It cannot be used for salaries, for teacher increases. It has to be used for the sole purpose of retiring the debt of the bonds that have been issued. The bond levy is also going to remain a part of your tax rate throughout the full life of what it may take to get that bond paid off. Another question that we're asked is, well, what is this bond amount going to cost me as the taxpayer? And again, we have set the bond amount for 6.1 mils. And at that millage, it would cost the homeowner of a property that has a market value of $75,000, $160.12 a year. If you have a home that's at a market value of $100,000, it would be $213.50 a year. If you are a $150,000 homeowner, the valuation or the taxes on that would be $320.25 a year. The market value is not what you're taxed on, though. You have a taxable value, which is 35% of your market value. And that was a misconception that we came up against the last time that you were on the ballot. You don't take that $100,000 times the millage, but it's 35% of that. So $35,000 times the 6.1 mils. If you have questions about what this levy would mean to you, you are welcome to call my office. We are more than happy to answer your questions, any of my staff that answers the phone. You can go to our website and you can find your valuations there. Again, I just remind you that to take that taxable value, not the market value. I have business cards with me that have both phone numbers and it has web addresses on it. I would be happy to share those with you. If you have any questions this evening, I'll be around also. But would anybody have any questions right now?
Thanks, Melissa. The one thing that I found interesting as we've gone through this process is probably about a month and a half ago, Mr. Fike, who is the government teacher at the high school, said there were a lot of students who were really in support of the new schools and they wanted to become involved in any way they can. And tonight we have a young lady here that would like to speak for a few minutes about a student's perspective on what new schools may mean. And she's graduating this year, so she will not reap the benefits of the new school, but she still was willing to come and say a few things. She said she talked a half hour at her 8th grade graduation. I told her, keep it a little short.
Hello, I'm Cassandra. As he said, I'm a senior here. I've been attending Logan Elm for 4 years now. I think the main thing that we need in a new building is the concentration for the students. Like in this building, we have air conditioning and we have heating, and we have 3 classes in this building for the high school. We have the art, choir, and band. And just coming from the high school when it's really hot in there, no one wants to concentrate. Everyone just wants to leave and never come back because it is a horrible, horrible day. But the people that are in the art program, the band or choir, they have so much more concentration with the teachers, and just the way that they communicate back with the teachers is so much better than in the high school because of the climate control in here. And like in the winter, it is cold. It is very cold in there. In some rooms we have heating, and some rooms, you know, I come to school with like 2 jackets, 2 pair of pants. It is cold. And then in the summer, since we have a dress code, we obviously can't wear, you know, inappropriate things. So we have to kind of deal with it and, you know, suck it up a little bit. But I think that if we had climate control, it would be beneficial to the students and the teachers' concentration. And another thing, just the bathrooms are horrible. I have to take a friend with me sometimes just so she can hold the door shut, because we don't have locks on the doors, and it's horrible. But I think it'd be very beneficial to have a new school. And like he said, I'm a senior, so I won't even have any benefit on any of it, but the people past me, I think that, you know, they deserve it. We have an awesome school, and the students deserve something new.
Thanks, Cassandra. Next we have Board President Debbie Shaw that would like to say a few words.
Good evening. On behalf of the Logan Elm Board of Education, we'd like to first of all say thank you for coming out. I know this has been one of the most beautiful evenings you've seen for a long time, and you chose to spend it with us, so we do appreciate that. We at Logan Elm have a lot to be proud of, and we are Logan Elm. We are one. Life as we know it at Logan Elm, though, cannot and will not continue as it is. Changes must occur. You and I have an opportunity to embrace those changes. Change is difficult, changes cause upsets, that change is inevitable. Cosmetically, our buildings look great on the outside. But on the inside, as Rod will show you, we have toilets that won't flush, ceilings that have been replaced due to endangering our students. Yet behind those walls, we have a school that ranks #1 in the county and number 64th, I believe it was, in the state with test scores. Even though it didn't make it to the front page of the Herald, folks, we were there. We have a lot to be proud of. We have some hurdles to get through. We need to gather some input, but we also have parameters that we're working within. Your board has decided that we'll be going out with our administrators and we've selected various we're going to all the townships, but various board members will go to each township. And we're going to meet with some representatives from those townships. One of the questions we're going to be asking is, what memorabilia can we bring to a unified campus from your school as a representative of a part of your history? We want this to be a unified campus. We want this to be a unified school, and we want everyone to feel a part of that. We can get there. We value your input, but our #1 priority is the safety and the education of our students. We have a lot to be proud of at Logan Elm. Won't you join us as we strive to unite our district and maintain the pride at Logan Elm? Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie. That was well said with some of the things that we're trying to accomplish in the vision of the school district as well as the vision of the board. Our goal is, and there's a lot of teachers here tonight and I appreciate that, our goal is to enhance the education of our students and make sure when they leave here, they're ready for the workforce, they're ready for college, and new facilities will help us do that. We have great teachers, but the buildings are deteriorating and we need to move forward in that aspect. Finally tonight we have Rod Smith, probably the reason most of you came, the keynote speaker. And so Rod's going to go through some slides and some issues that we see in the buildings. And if you've never heard Rod speak, he's a dynamic speaker, so I will raise the bar high. Rod is also the co-chair of the levy, as well as Jeremy Neff, who went behind the curtain to help with the lights. So I appreciate all the work they have done over the last year, as well as a lot of other people in this room who's helping with the levy. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. You got it, Jeremy? The famous author Margaret Mitchell said, "Death, taxes, and childbirth. There's never a convenient time for any of it." Ben Franklin said, "Certainty. In this world, nothing is certain but death and taxes." And author Jeffrey Fry said, "The one difference between death and taxes is that death does not get worse every time Congress meets." Living in the United States, and especially in Ohio, we always seem to have certain topics at the water fountain and at the coffee shop, such as the weather, the Buckeyes, the president, no matter who he is, road conditions, corn, beans, and many other topics. And always at the top of the list is taxes. I really don't know of anyone that loves to pay taxes. I love to play golf. I love all kinds of sports, especially football. I love to stand on a mountain in West Virginia and look over the valley. I love my family. And I really love watching my grandchildren play. Talk, read, just about anything they do. One of the greatest pleasures I have is holding my grandkids' hand as we walk into a store or across the street. As Marcia and I watched the two of our granddaughters yesterday in McConnellsville, I was thinking of our issue here at home, Logan Elm. The issue in May is to build new and renovated schools as a turning point in our community. Yes, we all know that we really don't like to pay taxes. Some of the reasons we don't like to pay taxes is because we don't know where the money goes. The LE levy in May, we know exactly where it's going. It's going to go for a 6 through 12 building right over there. It's going to go put 3 through 3 in this building. And it's going to put 4 and 5 in that building. We will be able to actually look, touch, and walk through what our tax dollars are paying for. There comes a time in our lives that we have to look in the mirror and realize that I would do anything for my children. We also want to look in that mirror and be able to say, we'll do anything for the children. Any child. We should do our best to help them, protect them, and educate them. Even in the ordinance of 1785, a section of 640 acres was set aside in each township for schools. It's time for the children of Logan Elm in 2014 to get out of 100-year-old buildings and move into the 21st century. We have our children of Logan Elm going to kindergarten in basements of 100-year-old buildings. There are 18 classrooms in the Logan Elm School District that are taught in trailers, and 6 of those trailers are 40 years or older. There is only one of our 6 buildings that the students don't go outside. You can stand right outside this auditorium and watch over 300 students go every 52 minutes from one class to another. Just about every door and window in our building stood open the first couple of weeks when it was 100 degrees this year due to all the heat. In 3 of the elementary buildings, if you are disabled, you can't even get to the principal's office. So grandma, when you're picking up your kid, if you can't walk up steps, you can't go there. You buzz at the door and they bring the sheet down to you. And in the 4th elementary at Laurelville, there is no restroom in the principal's building. Apparently, the people of Logan Elm have never heard of the American Disabilities Act. Speaking of restrooms at Laurelville, you can only flush 1 toilet at a time for the lack of pressure. Heck, even the teacher's restroom, they have to use a bucket sometimes. A light fixture fell from the ceiling in Pickaway. Luckily, it was over the weekend and nobody was hurt. The infrastructure of the old buildings is crumbling. Roofs are leaking and giving way, and the walls and beams are starting to come down. It's a matter of time before we hear the news of something tragic. We will know and be able to see, touch, and walk through where our dollars are going. We will even have a say on the planning of these new buildings. Logan Elm is in trouble with our buildings, and really, we don't have a choice. We have to do this. Instead of thinking of all these bad things right now, let's think of some good things. Think of the day in 2017 that the buses pull in over here and grades 6 through 12 unload, and they walk into that brand new state-of-the-art building. The excitement they will have in their eyes will last a lifetime. Students going to new, clean, up-to-date restrooms with the latest technologies. The classrooms will be the best of the best. The science teacher having actual lab tables and sinks to do their work. Teachers having computer technology with smart boards, snap cameras, and all the works permanently mounted in their room instead of on carts. The next year we can watch that 2nd grader eat their lunch in this cafeteria instead of a gym. They can go to the restroom right over here instead of in a basement, and they don't even have to walk outside when it's 10 degrees to get to that restroom. The 5th grader can go to different classes without climbing 3 flights of stairs. And any student who is disabled via crutches, walker, wheelchair will be able to go to their school and to their classroom. So when we go vote, remember that we are not voting because of the superintendent. We are not voting because the bus driver or teacher or custodian or any individual. It doesn't matter if the coach didn't play our son or daughter or that teacher was mean. We will not vote because we will have our billfold open grabbing hold of that dollar bill and holding on to that more than we care about our neighbor's child. We will not vote because we are from Washington, Salt Creek, or Oroville. We will not vote because we are either from Hocking or Pickaway County. We are voting because we will finally be one, a Logan Elm Brave. From the very beginning of kindergarten to graduation, we are Braves. We're all working for that one day so we can hold the hand of that gift from God, that priceless child who deserves all the chances in life that we can give them. We will stand there holding their hand that day and looking at their new school, and we will know in our hearts, as they will in theirs, we, the brave nation, did what was right. Thank you.
I think that was very well said by Rod, and I hadn't heard that before, but the only thing I will say is this, and then I'll close and we'll take any questions. I'm glad he's an advocate for my two children who are in 1st and 2nd grade. And again, if you have any questions, thank you for coming this evening. If you have any questions, feel free to see any of us. Thank you.
We're going to have meetings. Been a rough week. We're going to have meetings every Monday in April, starting at 4:30. If you would like to come to help us get these buildings, you're more than welcome. If you know anybody else would like to come to help us get these buildings, you're more than welcome. Because we're going to get it done. It's going to happen. Okay, so we're going to keep that attitude. Every Monday at 4:30, we're going to have a list of people who haven't voted yet. We're getting a hold of it. Who voted yes? I mean, yeah. But please feel welcome to come in. We'll get the signs out going this week, so we can all have the signs out and stuff. So please feel free to come in on Mondays at 4:30.
Thanks again.
Thank you.